What if I told you that the country sweetheart the internet tried to destroy just broke her silence, and what she said might flip this entire Keith Urban scandal upside down? For months, Maggie Baugh has been painted as the other woman, the girl who allegedly sang her way into a married man's heart, but now she's speaking out. And trust me, Nashville isn't ready for this. Did Keith really cross the line? Or was Maggie just caught in the crossfire of a love story gone wrong? Grab your tea, because the truth she just dropped might silence everyone who ever doubted her when the story first broke. It wasn't just another gossip headline, it was the kind of scandal that makes Nashville's walls shake. One performance, one lyric, and suddenly an entire marriage was hanging by a thread. Maggie Baugh, once the barefoot dreamer from Boca Raton, Florida, had become the woman at the center of Hollywood's most whispered betrayal. The tabloids didn't care about her music, her struggle, or her rise. They only cared about one thing, Keith Urban, because when Keith, the golden boy of country music, stood beside her on that stage and changed one tiny word in his song, from baby to Maggie, it wasn't just a lyrical slip. It was a digital earthquake. Cameras froze, fans gasped, and by morning, the internet had already crowned its villain Maggie Baugh, the other woman, the girl who stole Keith Urban's heart, the duet that ended a marriage. Those were the headlines splashed across every feed. And while the world laughed, reposted, and dissected every frame of that performance, no one stopped to ask, what really happened that night? You see, this wasn't just about a duet. This was about an illusion, the perfect marriage between Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman, a union Hollywood had branded as untouchable. 19 years of love, survival, and red carpet smiles had convinced everyone that their story was bulletproof. But if fame has taught us anything, it's that no story stays perfect forever. Sources close to the couple whisper that trouble had been brewing long before Maggie entered the picture. One insider claimed Keith had been restless for months. The spark was gone. He wanted the music back, the feeling of freedom. Another said Nicole had grown tired of living her life as a supporting act in his story. It wasn't cheating that ended the fairy tale, it was distance. But then, along came Maggie, young, bright-eyed, talented, and completely unprepared for the spotlight she was about to step into. Keith met her backstage after a charity performance, telling her, "You sing like you've lived 1,000 heartbreaks." She thought it was just a compliment. But for Keith, it was more, maybe a mirror reflecting the passion he lost somewhere between fame and comfort. Their connection wasn't romantic at first. It was musical, the kind that artists dream of but rarely find. When they sang together, the air changed. Nashville producers noticed, and soon the invitations began. One duet turned into two turned into tours. And before long, their names were appearing side by side on every lineup and every trending topic. To fans, it was chemistry. To tabloids, it was evidence. And to Maggie, it was everything she'd worked her entire life for, until it became the thing that nearly destroyed her, because the internet doesn't do innocent until proven guilty. The internet decides. And once it decides, there's no turning back. Within days, hashtags like #justice for Nicole and #Keith and Maggie began trending worldwide. Comment sections filled with venom. She's a homewrecker. She knew he was married. She planned this for fame. Meanwhile, Maggie stayed silent. No tweets, no interviews, no statements. Just a 25-year-old woman trapped inside a scandal she didn't start. And behind the scenes, it was chaos. Keith's PR team scrambled to control the narrative. Nicole's representatives issued cryptic no-comment responses. Paparazzi camped outside recording studios. One tabloid even published a so-called leaked email where Keith allegedly told a producer, "Maggie's the voice I've been missing, of course." There's no proof that email ever existed, but in the world of fame, proof isn't required. Just believability. As one Nashville producer put it, all it takes is a single lyric, a single look, and the world will write a novel out of it. And right, they did. Every gossip page, every entertainment blog, every YouTube channel turned the duet into an affair. Some claimed Keith was already separated when the song happened. Others swore Nicole found out from the viral clip. And through it all, Maggie's name was being chewed up by the machine of modern fame, shredded, repackaged, and sold for clicks. Friends of Maggie told us she couldn't sleep. She'd wake up at 3 a.m., scrolling through comments, watching strangers dissect her life. One friend confided she cried for days. She kept saying it was just a song, but just a song had turned into a symbol of betrayal, a symbol of broken trust, and the line, "I'll be your guitar player," Maggie, became the dagger that fans swore ended a marriage. Now here's where it gets darker. Some insiders claim the entire incident might not have been an accident at all, that someone wanted that lyric change to go viral. A PR setup? A leaked rehearsal clip? Or even a planned move to reignite Keith's fading fame? One anonymous source from the tour crew told us that line wasn't spontaneous. They rehearsed it. We all heard it backstage. If that's true, then this wasn't just scandal, it was strategy. And if it was strategy, the only person who didn't know she was part of the plan was Maggie. She thought it was a dream come true, sharing the stage with her idol singing 2000s. But what if she was just the face of someone else's publicity play? What if she was being used as the spark to restart a career that was losing heat? Because when the dust settled, Keith Urban's streams spiked, ticket sales jumped, and his name was back in headlines for the first time in years. Meanwhile, Maggie's life fell apart. Her record deal froze. Endorsements vanished. Even her upcoming EP, which had nothing to do with Keith, was quietly delayed. The message was clear: in Hollywood, once your name is tied to a scandal, your art stops mattering. And while Maggie hid from the world, the rest of us couldn't stop watching. Because we weren't just seeing a rumor, we were witnessing the collision of innocence and fame. But here's the thing, the story doesn't end with that one performance. It starts there, because what happened next turned this from a messy rumor into a full-blown conspiracy, one that might just expose how deep Nashville's PR machine really goes. The days after the scandal were a blur of silence and speculation. Maggie disappeared from social media, canceling shows, pulling back from interviews, and letting the noise drown itself out. But in the chaos of that silence, rumors only grew louder. Paparazzi swore they spotted her near Keith's studio in Tennessee. An anonymous fan claimed she saw them sharing coffee in the corner of a dim cafe. And one gossip blog even published an alleged photo of Keith's hand resting on hers across the table, a photo later proven to be fake. But by then, no one cared about facts. The narrative had been set. Keith Urban, the charming country legend, and Maggie Baugh, the bright new voice, had supposedly crossed the line. But here's the twist nobody expected. Nicole Kidman didn't react. Not publicly, anyway. No dramatic Instagram posts, no teary red carpet appearances, no interviews hinting at betrayal. She just vanished too. The silence from both sides became the loudest part of the story, behind closed doors, though things were reportedly far from quiet. One insider close to the couple revealed that Nicole had flown out of Nashville the very night the video went viral. She wasn't angry, the source said. She was heartbroken. She thought they'd already survived their storms, rehab, career pressure, distance. But seeing him up there, looking at another woman that way, that broke something. Meanwhile, Maggie's world kept collapsing. Her management advised her to lay low, telling her any statement could be misinterpreted. So she waited days, weeks, months, while her reputation burned online. But here's where it gets haunting. People who actually knew Maggie say she wasn't the type to chase scandal. She was humble, grounded, and obsessed with her craft. One of her old producers said she'd stay up all night writing lyrics about heartbreak she'd never even lived. Ironically, this was the first heartbreak she actually did, and the deeper fans dug, the messier it got. A supposed leaked voice memo circulated online, a man's voice, eerily similar to Keith's, saying, "Maggie, you bring me back to life." Some called it fake, others swore it was real. But the damage was done. Every upload, every repost, every comment added another scar to Maggie's already bleeding image. Then came the bombshell interview. Not from Keith, Not from Nicole, but from a former crew member who worked the sound booth during the performance that started it all. Keith rehearsed that line 3 times. He said he wanted it perfect. Everyone thought it was a cute moment. But after it blew up, management went into panic mode. Suddenly, we were told to delete rehearsal footage and keep our mouths shut. If true, that meant this entire accidental moment might have been orchestrated from the start, a carefully crafted spark meant to reignite attention around Keith's name. After all, his album sales had dipped and his last tour struggled to sell out. Could it be that this controversy was the exact kind of chaos his team needed to make him relevant again? It wouldn't be the first time the entertainment industry used scandal as strategy. But what no one accounted for was Maggie breaking. Friends say she hit her lowest point around the holidays. She stopped writing music, stopped responding to calls, even told one friend, "I wish I'd never met him." It wasn't just heartbreak. It was humiliation. Because while Keith could retreat into his fame and Nicole could hide behind her privacy, Maggie had nowhere to go. Every time she tried to rebuild, her name came up in search results attached to one phrase, Keith Urban Affair. Still, the truth has a way of clawing its way out, even through whispers. Early this year, an anonymous Twitter account claiming to be part of Keith's team began posting cryptic messages. One said, "It wasn't love. It was marketing." Another, "She didn't know she was the pawn." Most dismissed it as fan fiction until screenshots surfaced of emails between Maggie's camp and Keith's PR reps. In one, a representative allegedly wrote, "The duet was a creative risk. The emotional connection will drive engagement." Engagement. That's the word they used. Not chemistry. Not passion. Engagement. Like this was just another campaign. Maggie, meanwhile, finally started posting again, subtle at first. A photo of her guitar, captioned "It used to make sense," a lyric snippet reading, "They told me to smile while they sold my pain." Fans who'd abandoned her began trickling back, realizing she might have been the real victim all along. Then, the spark that reignited the entire fire, Maggie went live. For the first time since the scandal broke, she spoke directly to her audience. No script, no PR filter, just raw emotion. Her voice shook as she said, "I was told it was just a performance. I didn't know it would become this." She didn't name names, but she didn't have to. Every pause, every tear, every crack in her voice told the story better than words could. She described feeling used, manipulated, and abandoned, not by Keith necessarily, but by the system that made her a scapegoat. "They turned me into a headline," she said, "when all I wanted was to sing." The live ended in silence. No dramatic exit, no music playing her off. Just her sitting there, staring into the screen as comments flooded in. "We believe you. You didn't deserve this. They set you up." And just like that, the internet began to shift. The same crowd that once canceled her started demanding accountability from Keith's camp. Hashtags flipped overnight. Hashtag Stand With Maggie trended across platforms, with fans calling out industry exploitation and gender bias. Because, once again, the narrative had changed, and this time, it wasn't about scandal. It was about survival. But as support for Maggie grew, new questions started to surface, ones even she wasn't ready to answer. Did Keith know what his team was planning? Was Nicole aware before the story broke? And if this was all a setup, who stood to gain the most from Maggie's public downfall? Because the closer people looked, the more connections appeared, contracts, tour schedules, sudden rebranding efforts. Everything pointed to one disturbing possibility. Maggie wasn't caught in a love triangle. She was caught in a marketing trap. And what came next would shake Nashville's industry to its core when Maggie decided she wasn't just going to cry about it anymore. She was going to fight back. Maggie's silence had turned into power. For months, she'd been painted as a villain, the reason for a marriage's collapse, the destroyer of reputations. But when she decided to fight back, Nashville had no idea how loud her truth would sound. She wasn't coming with a song this time. She came with receipts, according to sources close to Maggie. She'd spent the last few months quietly collecting every message, contract, and voice note that could prove she was set up. And what she allegedly uncovered wasn't just scandalous, it was career-ending for some. Let's start with the bombshell email chain. One that, if real, exposed the entire machine behind the so-called Keith Urban affair, the emails, reportedly between Keith's PR firm and a major country music marketing agency, outlined a detailed plan to revive Keith's public persona through strategic emotional engagement. Translation? Manufacture a viral story, even if it meant using someone else's name. And that someone else turned out to be Maggie Baugh. The plan? A high-profile duet with a younger, relatable artist. A lyric change to humanize Keith, a few spontaneous interviews to fuel curiosity. And when it all exploded online, they'd play innocent. Because in the world of celebrity marketing, controversy sells better than sincerity. But here's where things took an even darker turn. Maggie wasn't told any of this. She thought she was simply collaborating with one of her idols. The leaked correspondence showed her team being pressured to keep her uninformed until after the broadcast. In other words, she was a pawn in a PR stunt gone wrong. And while the emails were never publicly verified, screenshots started circulating on fan forums, sparking the biggest wave of outrage country music had seen in years. Fans began dissecting old interviews, pointing out the forced smiles, the nervous laughter, the way Keith avoided direct answers when asked about Maggie. Everything suddenly looked staged, like a performance within a performance. Keith's camp went into damage control immediately. A statement was released saying, "These rumors are completely unfounded. Any alleged correspondence has been fabricated, but insiders weren't convinced." One Nashville journalist tweeted, "If these emails are fake, why hasn't the PR firm denied ownership of the domain?" And that's when the dominoes really started to fall. First, one of Keith's longtime publicists resigned for personal reasons. Then, an anonymous whistleblower, reportedly from the same marketing agency involved, contacted a major entertainment news outlet, claiming Maggie was deliberately misled to create organic buzz. The whistleblower even suggested that Nicole Kidman had been briefed on the campaign, but was told it was harmless. That revelation shattered everything. If Nicole knew, even partially, then the entire victim wife image the media had painted started to crumble too. Suddenly, this wasn't just about infidelity. It was about manipulation, branding, and the ugly truth behind Hollywood's glossy facade. Meanwhile, Maggie did something no one expected. She didn't file a lawsuit, at least not yet. Instead, she channeled the chaos into her art. Out of nowhere, she dropped a new single titled "Pawn in Your Game." No promo, no teaser, just a midnight release with a haunting black and white music video. The lyrics cut deep. They said, "Smile for the camera. It'll make you shine bright." But they never told me I'd be burning in the light. It was raw, poetic, and painful, and it hit #1 on iTunes within hours. Critics called it a brutal reclamation of power. Fans called it the anthem of every woman who's ever been silenced. Even some of Keith's supporters began quietly switching sides, admitting the song felt too real to be just art. But Maggie wasn't done. In a surprise move, she sat down for an exclusive interview, her first and only since the scandal began. Sitting across from a visibly nervous interviewer, Maggie stayed calm, collected, and heartbreakingly honest. "I don't hate anyone," she said softly, "but I do hate how the industry treats women like accessories to men's stories. I was never part of their plan. I was their product." The interviewer asked if she had ever spoken to Keith since the fallout. Maggie paused, smiled faintly, and said, "Let's just say some words can't be unsaid." That one line sent fans into meltdown. Did she mean an apology? A confession? Or something darker? Theories flooded social media, dissecting every second of the clip. Some swore she was hinting at a private apology from Keith. Others believed she meant she'd confronted him, and he didn't deny what happened. Meanwhile, Keith and Nicole were struggling to maintain their once flawless image. Their joint appearances became awkward, their smiles strained. One event even captured them arguing under their breath before the cameras rolled. Within weeks, rumors of a trial separation surfaced, though their reps dismissed it as laughable gossip. Still, industry insiders whispered that Keith's next tour faced sponsorship withdrawals, and Nicole quietly pulled out of a film project to focus on family. The empire was cracking, and Maggie's quiet courage was what started it, but this isn't where the story ends. Because the fight wasn't over. Reports began surfacing that Maggie's legal team was preparing a formal complaint against the PR firm that orchestrated the campaign. Allegedly, she intended to pursue damages for emotional distress and defamation. And if that happened, it wouldn't just be a lawsuit, it would be an industry reckoning. One insider called it the #MeToo of marketing manipulation, warning that dozens of other artists might step forward with similar stories. Young women exploited for clout, emotional bait used for engagement, careers destroyed in the name of virality. By now, Maggie wasn't just a singer anymore, she'd become a symbol. A voice for every artist who'd been silenced, every dreamer chewed up by the machine. In her latest Instagram post, she wrote, "They called me the scandal. Now, they call me the story," and with that, she proved something powerful, that no amount of gossip, no fake headline, no viral rumor could outlast the truth, because at the end of the day, fame fades. Stories shift, but integrity? That's the one thing even Hollywood can't fake. Maggie Baugh didn't just survive a scandal, she rewrote it. And as her music climbs the charts again, fans can't help but ask, was this downfall her ending? Or just the beginning of a legacy that Nashville tried to bury? One thing's for sure, the truth might have been silenced for a while, but now it's singing louder than ever. So, what do you think really happened between Maggie Baugh, Keith Urban, and Nicole Kidman? Was this just another media-made distraction? Or the biggest betrayal Nashville's ever tried to hide? One thing's for sure, somebody's truth is still missing, and when it finally comes out, it's going to change everything. Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button if you believe Maggie deserves justice. And don't forget to subscribe, because here on Lumi Legacy, we don't chase rumors, we expose the stories they're too scared to tell.